Hi guys, my name is Girish, the host for Back2Basics, another week. I hope you're enjoying as much as I am. It is so fortunate that I've been here so long and it's great and it's still running. So guys, today we have an interesting episode, a great episode. I spoke with this guest of mine on Clubhouse. Yes, guys, and Clubhouse. Yes, I've found a lot of people on Clubhouse and it's great. You should listen to it too whenever you get a chance. Just go to Back2Basic Club also. I'm pretty sure we have a whole bunch of different interviews going on there also, even besides what we're doing here. So the guest I have today, her name is Krista Steele, and the author she's an author actually, and the book is called Shattered Illusions, and it's all about what? Shattered illusions? Or is it more about crypto? Well, we'll get into the basics of that. How about that? And we'll find out that where did she get that name from? Because when you read the word shattered illusions, you think of different items. You think of dreams. You think of all the other stuff that it shattered down. So we'll talk about that. So Krista, how are you? And thank you for coming back to Basics. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy that I got a chance to meet you on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Clubhouse Matt.
I know, it's such a madness house, isn't it? It's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So before we get into the basics of the shattered illusions and crypto and NFT and blockchain or whatever we want to talk about today, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
So Back to Basics really means to me, are we taking care of humanity? And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this, is because I realized that a lot of people in this world are unbanked. There's 33% of the worldwide population that is unbanked, that has zero access to capital. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to highlight this and show solutions. And crypto is a solution to bank the unbanked in developing nations, and especially this affects women. Mm. So this is my mission, part of my mission in writing this book, and it will also be a forthcoming TV series.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Krista, for coming on the show, first of all, and explaining the Back to Basics for your point of view and how you created this monster of the book. So where did this name came from? Because as I explained in the beginning, Shattered Illusions sounds like a dream just got shattered and it's illusions, right? So what is your thought process on that?
So one of the things I wanted to let people know is, we're very fortunate that things just show up in our life, right? We have food in the grocery store, we have clothes, we have technology. We just go to the store and we don't really think about where things come from. And so whenever I started studying supply chains and how blockchain is exposing things on the blockchain, such as exploitation and fraud and theft, I thought, this is really something that people really need to know. And it's surprising how much in supply chains that there's exploitation. So we're talking in mining, in fishing, in agriculture. It's very surprising how many items that we have in our everyday lives that come from conflict zones and people who are exploited. So blockchain is a technology that is changing that and providing transparency and accountability. And so I wanted to write a fictional story and have a TV show that's fictional but based on real life and some of the success stories of people putting this technology into place. So implementing this technology worldwide.
Wow, it's a big, huge problem that you had to come up with a book, it looks like, huh? And do you think you have a bigger audience about this particular topic?
Yes, because there are people that are being exploited worldwide. Mm. So this is something that we should care about worldwide because it really affects every single person in the world.
Yeah.
Right now in 2021, 1 out of every 10 children born is born into slavery and exploitation. So, that's a really shocking number. And I had no idea that in 2021 that we have modern slavery at such a level. There's no reason why 5-year-olds and younger, or children in any situation, should be working in dangerous situations and should be exploited. So the effect of blockchain on these supply chains is showing through technology, through IoT, which is Internet of Things.
Mm-hmm.
It tracks location, it tracks temperature, it tracks weight of various things, and everyone involved in the supply chain can see where things are all along the process. And there's been technology passed in the US and in Europe. This year in Europe, actually, January 2021, the conflict minerals regulations. So you have to prove that your minerals that are coming into Europe have not been in a situation where there's been exploitation or slave labor used. And so, as you probably know, this is a real big issue. It's exposing a lot of problems in these supply chains, and they're implementing these changes. So my book is fictional, and the TV series is fictional, but this is happening in real life.
Yeah, thank you so much, Krista. So I didn't realize that. I think there's a difference between slavery and modern slavery. Am I right?
Well, these children and people are not, they don't really have a choice. They don't have access to funds, to, banks.
Got it.
They're enslaved. So, a lot of people, including myself, I thought, maybe slavery happens in a very small percentage of the world.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how much it's happening in fishing, mining, agriculture, fashion. I can give you a whole list of countries.
Sure.
And also, it's something that happens everywhere, but I'm definitely have studied it in the U.S., that we will have crates come into ports that are containing humans. So they will open up crates and find humans that are trafficked. And so one thing with blockchain is that sensors are being, used in these crates. So if there's a temperature change, a weight change, they can see that there are people, drugs, weapons. Blockchain is exposing these kinds of things, these illegal activities that are being used in regular supply chains. But it's happening in many ports in the U.S., the other places. So I'm so happy that this technology is being implemented so we can expose this and end this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I did not realize this was happening, but it's good to know. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so let's take a step back a little and let's talk about blockchain, if you don't mind. So according to a lot of people, blockchain means the gold chain around your neck. Can you explain what does blockchain actually mean from the technology world? I know what it means, but I think my audience does not. So can we explain that a little?
Sure, exactly. So the beauty of blockchain is that anyone involved in the supply chain is aware of all the things that are happening at the same time. So it's very transparent. So in traditional databases, there can be manipulation. But in blockchain, everyone is equal, everything is transparent, and everyone's held accountable. So you can see the location of things as it moves along. So it's very easy to track and trace. And if you think about global supply chains, things can get lost in the shuffle, right?
Sure.
You can say, I don't know what happened to that truck. And the reality is sometimes that things are diverted. Things are stolen, things are replaced with fraudulent merchandise. This happens with medicine, this happens with electronics. With blockchain, because of the sensors, the IoT, the Internet of Things, you know exactly where everything is at all times. Everyone along the supply chain can see, okay, this is at this location, it's been here for this many hours. There's a delay, what's going on? So you have multiple people that are, holding the people accountable all along the supply chain.
Yeah.
So it's something very different. It's being used in a variety of companies and industries, and it's really saving a lot of money too. Just think of food fraud, for example, or spoilage. You can track the temperature of things. So let's say fish is the temperature drops that's supposed to be frozen. Something gets diverted, and the temperature shows that the temperature is really high. The fish is no longer frozen, and you have things that are spoiled. Insurance payouts and all those things happen. rotten fish isn't going to be delivered, for the next, 3 days or 5 days. Everyone along the blockchain is aware of the situation. So it's much easier to track and to prevent fraud and theft.
So thank you for that. So from a regular consumer point of view, how would you explain that? For example, because they will not understand what you just explained. So how about if we talk in a basic way, does it mean that if I order pizza and it doesn't come on time, is that a blockchain situation?
Probably not. It's usually more complex supply chains. Mining, for example, like for minerals, you want to make sure, Tesla's a good example. They're implementing blockchain for their mining so they can track different minerals. So you want to know, if you're a Tesla buyer, for example, that the making of your car, the manufacturing of your car was done in an ethical way. And so you want to know where things are mined for the batteries, for example. So, Tesla is a good example, right? People that want to buy electric cars, they are conscientious, they want to improve the environment. So they're implementing blockchain, so you know exactly where things were mined and that they did not use exploited labor.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, because there's a lot of people, they're not really understanding what blockchain is and how does it affect their day-to-day life.
Right.
So I need to make sure that they understand that during the day-to-day life, this is very needed too.
Right. Well, I'll give you another example.
Sure.
So if you are a consumer and you're going to make a choice between, let's say, 3 different cars, for example, and you want to know that the manufacturer of your car that you're buying has been the most ethical as far as taking care of the environment and the treatment of labor. So when things are on the blockchain, more and more companies are getting on the blockchain. If they're not willing to show the behind the scenes of how things are made or where things are made, then there might be, if they're not willing to be transparent, that means that there might be some, shenanigans, let's just say that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not, but if they're willing to be transparent and accountable about everything, then you may be, as a consumer, more willing to, purchase from them. So, also from fishing is a good example. They're starting to implement blockchain because there's a lot of food fraud in fishing where people will fish something and then call it something different so they can charge more.
Yeah.
Or they will fish in protected waters. So what's happening is when people are using blockchain, they can say, big fishing company A, you were not supposed to fish in the waters off this small island. This is restricted. It's only for people to fish from that island. So we are not going to, when you come to port, we will not purchase your fish as we had agreed, because we know that you fished in protected waters that you weren't supposed to, in restricted waters. So because you violated the contract, we will not buy from you. So it really goes all the way to restaurants, and restaurants are cooperating with fishing companies to make sure that the supply chains are ethical for labor treatment and for for fish. It's been a big problem for years, and the blockchain is helping that issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for making my audience to understand in the basic way of how blockchain is supposed to be told, because we've been told blockchain and people, they think chain around the necklace, and the neck. So we want to explain that it is an issue day-to-day life, and how does it affect to day-to-day life, and how does it affect from a security point of view also, and fraudulent and every other thing. Just give me a second. I apologize. Yeah. So the next question I have for you is, crypto is another big topic that people are talking about. Now, crypto is a currency which is what, around the world, am I right?
Yes.
So now here's a question. A lot of people have mentioned to me, how do I manage, let's say if I go to a stock, right? If I buy a stock for crypto, how do we say that it's going to go up and down as compared to a Fortune 500 company? So,
Right.
so explain the basics of what crypto is and
Sure.
how the other part of the question, if you don't mind.
Sure. Crypto is on a distributed network,
Yes.
and so I don't give financial advice, but I will tell people so they are not defrauded. Go to a reliable crypto exchange. So, for example, in the US, I recommend Gemini because they work very closely with the government to make sure that they, work with regulations, that everything is on the up and up. For India, the largest and the most reliable, it seems, is Wazirex. So if you look at, Gemini and Wazirex, they are working with the government, making sure everything's, regulated. And Wazirex has had a lot of success. I share this on Twitter. I share these stories. Women in India are really getting into this. People from small towns in India are really getting into this. So they are finding that they have more autonomy. And, if you have internet access, then you can have access to crypto and have access to crypto exchanges. So, it's even people in Afghanistan, unfortunately, we're all aware of the situation there. People have been getting paid in Bitcoin in Afghanistan, and crypto is borderless. So whenever the banks were, there's a run on the banks in Afghanistan and people were leaving, anyone from Afghanistan that was leaving that has their phone and has access to their crypto wallet, no matter where they go, they will have that cryptocurrency. So because crypto is borderless, anywhere they go with internet access, then they can use that money. So in this world that we live in with refugees from Venezuela, from a variety of places, if they have access to crypto wallets, then they are at a much bigger advantage than many other people.
Thank you so much. So all the banks that we know around the world, let's say in the U.S. is TD Bank and Citibank and Chase, and over the seas, I think in India, I think called Bank of India and Chartered Bank, and there's plenty more. I don't want to name all of them, but all those banks are kind of local. All those banks are cash-based. Now, do you think that cryptocurrency will be part of these banks also, or is this a different entity?
Oh, absolutely. JP Morgan, a lot of these banks are getting into crypto. And the other exciting thing that we've seen, especially out of Mumbai recently, is that they're going to be using blockchain for tracking internal bank systems. So the Security and Exchange, Commission essentially of India, based in Mumbai, announced that they're going to be using blockchain because they want everything to be transparent and the reporting to be correct. So banks are embracing blockchain. People are embracing crypto because, a lot of people are digital nomads, right? We don't necessarily need to work in the same city as our boss anymore. We can work anywhere in the world. If you have internet access, your company or your boss can send you money in crypto and pay you in that way. So it really is opening up opportunities for people all over the world. And I mentioned Afghanistan. People have been getting paid in Bitcoin for years, including women and girls, because what was happening is when they were paid, they would go home and their husbands or fathers would take the money. But with Bitcoin and with their own crypto wallets, they have that autonomy. And we're seeing that in Africa, in Venezuela, all over the world. And I definitely should say that 3 billion people have access to the internet in the world, right? So we have 3 billion that have access, that are connected. We have 4 billion that are not yet connected. But that's changing. So Cardano is a good example of a company that is working in Africa with World Mobile, and they are getting phones and decentralized, cheap but acceptable, sustainable internet access to Tanzania and many other countries. So people in those places can have two main things: digital identity and access to crypto. And so digital identity is something that we definitely need to talk about. So a lot of us, we we're so fortunate that we've been born in places where when we were born, we were given a birth certificate. And that birth certificate has allowed us to get health care, go to school, get bank accounts, get passports, get marriage licenses. But many parts of the world don't have birth certificates when people are born.
Right.
And that really limits them in life. So with digital identity, through biometrics, retinal scans, for example, then you can have a digital identity that you can tie your educational records, your identity for your country, land records, and then you have access to healthcare. You have access to services. You have access to getting loans. So if this is another blockchain project that people are doing, they're going door to door and they are getting digital identity and land titling and then giving that information to the government. And so now the government has that information because in many parts of the world, there's no paperwork. It's, a handshake deal or disorganized paperwork. So now you have digital identity, blockchain land titling, so you can get loans. You can, if there's a land dispute, it's in court, you can say, here's my land titling on the blockchain. So it's really changing a lot of people's lives and stopping corruption from places that in the past, this has happened so many times, right, in so many places in the world. I've heard so many stories where somebody will come in and say, you know what, we want to mine this land and you need to get out. And someone says, I've owned this land for 30 years, or it's been in my family for 50 years. We've been farming here, we own this land. And they say, well, there aren't any records, you can't prove anything, so you have to leave. And so now with blockchain that's being implemented worldwide for land titling, then people are more secure, they can get loans, and it's really changing lives.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, when you mentioned about the digital identity, we'll get back to crypto, but very quickly, don't you think, I can only speak from the U.S. point of view, I don't know about the other countries, you can chime in on that if you feel comfortable, but I thought there's HIPAA laws that you can't go digital, or am I wrong now?
Well, I know that digital identity has been used in a variety of places, including at refugee camps. So, for example, in Jordan, they have very large refugee camps, and what was happening, and I know this from people that I know who have worked there, people had physical cards, right, that they would show to get meals and things like that and services. And there was violence in the camps, and these refugees were attacking one another to steal the physical card. So, which is it's just so awful, it's already a horrible situation. And then to imagine people, missing more meals and things like that. So the refugee camps are using digital identity. So they scan people's retinas and that shows your identity. And so whenever you want to get food, clothing, services, things like that, it's connected to, your virtual money and things like that. And so you don't have to worry about, holding a physical piece of paper. So there's less chance of violence in that case. And, just imagine being in that situation. You're going to have, your eyes, but, you don't have to worry about losing that precious piece, card. So I'm sure that it's a relief to people who are already under such stress. But digital identity is also being used in Ethiopia. It's a huge blockchain project with Cardano to track school records. It's being used in a variety of places. So in the U.S., we're not really using it that much, but fortunately for us, we have, passports and driver's licenses and things like that. So it's not really too difficult to prove our identity.
That's right.
But for people who are, who don't have that birth certificate, it's a very challenging life.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So regarding about crypto, and you said that you can get salaries by by employers to the employees, right? So here's my question now: is there's a website, down in the US, we go by salary.com, and you write down the title and the location, and it'll give you, let's say, 50K, 40K, 80K, 100K, depending on whatever the positions are. I'm just making up the salary numbers, okay?
Right.
Now, is there an algorithm for crypto to understand what you're going to get? Let's say if you are an engineer or an author like you and me as a podcaster, what do you think on those?
Well, so you can negotiate, and so I know consultants that say, pay me, in ETH. This is my crypto wallet, and so you make an agreement on an hourly rate, and then from that, the boss would make a translation. So you would get paid, on your pay date. For example, you would be paid in ETH. Whatever hourly rate you agree on. So that's just one example. But people are being paid in crypto. And the other thing I wanted to definitely add is people are setting up charities in crypto. So if you are a nonprofit or a university and you want to set up to accept crypto, you can do that. So Afghanistan, the weather situations we've had in the U.S., charities are accepting crypto. So anyone in the world can donate. And then if you are a crypto holder and you want to donate to any place in the world that, is a cause that you believe in, you don't have to find, out all the details of that local charity on the ground, right? It's going to go through Save the Children or something like that. Everything has been checked out, everything has been set up properly, and you can donate your crypto in that way. So it really is, crypto is borderless. So we can reach, countries that, if you read a story in the news that touches your heart about, something, a cyclone in India, for example, and it touches your heart and you want to do something today, you can donate crypto to approved charities.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So is Gemini the only company right now who accepts cryptocurrency? Or is it JP Morgan or anyone else right now? Or
PayPal and others are getting into crypto. Gemini is an example of, they're going to have a crypto credit card you can get on their waiting list. I just like to give people examples of crypto exchanges that are working with the government, right? This is new. This is a learning thing. We're learning about taxes. So when you sell crypto and you make a profit, you have to pay taxes on that. You self-report. You don't have to pay taxes if you donate that to charity. So there are lots of rules and regulations, but Gemini is an example that is working closely with the regulators. And I should say that I'm not affiliated with any of these companies. I'm giving examples.
No, of course. I totally get that. Yeah. So for example, if I open an account for crypto account and I put in $100, is it going to be 100 or is it going to be less like a stock?
Right. Well, definitely do your research, and there are different coins to choose from and things like that. So I always tell people, do your research, work within their system. They don't make it very complicated. Wazirix has also had a very successful rate, I think they've increased like over 2,000% in users because they make it very clear. Like there's no advantage for them to make it unclear. They want to make it super clear to people. So they make it, Gemini and Wazirix make it very clear on onboarding, how to manage things. That's why I mention them, because they aren't out to take advantage of anyone or pull a fast one or anything. So they make it very clear and user friendly. So that's why I mentioned those two, because there's no use in tricking anyone, right?
Sure.
They want to expand the use of crypto, expand the acceptance of crypto, and so they make it easy. And also, if you have any questions too, those companies are very good about answering questions. Their social media is really good. because we're all learning, right? We're all researching. This
Sure.
is new, and we all want to make sure that people don't get ripped off. People don't feel stupid, right? Because we're all learning. We're all in this together,
Yeah.
and so there are no stupid questions. They're there to answer questions, and just everybody do the research. I research every day.
Yeah, I think I think the term that we should be using is learn and unlearn and relearn.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I like the saying, I just heard this recently from Bobby Klein, and I really like the saying. It's trust your wisdom, not your knowledge, right? So there are lessons that we've all learned
That's
in
right.
life, but we're all students and we're all learning every single day. Yeah, so keep researching.
Yeah, thank you so much, Krista. Thank you for coming on my show and explaining the basics of blockchain and crypto and a little of other items that we have talked about, the digital identity. So it's great that for a little insight, and I definitely got your book, and I'm gonna read a little more about it. It seems like that you have done your homework. It looks like. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank
Because
you.
you know what, as a regular consumer, we don't know what blockchain is. We don't know what crypto is. Yeah, the only crypto that we know is that how much money are we going to play in the stocks?
Right, right.
And we don't know the nuances and the new way of thinking and the new world that we're going to be in. So
Right.
thank you for that, Krista, for that. So
Sure.
before you leave from Back to Basics, do you have any last words before you leave from us?
Well, I think it's a really exciting world. Borders are disappearing. And if we can get 33% of the world that is currently unbanked access to the internet and access to capital, it will really change things. It will, make people feel like they have freedom and autonomy, and it will free them from domestic violence situations, for example. There are still parts of this world where women aren't permitted to have bank accounts. And if they have access to crypto wallets, or people have access to crypto wallets and can get paid quickly, and if they can't rely on their government or banking system, then they will have completely different lives if they have access to crypto. So in the next several years, we're going to see major changes in Africa, in India, in literally all over the world, because crypto is making money accessible to massive amounts of people.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much, Krista, for coming on my show and making my day brighter day by day. And I cannot wait for the TV show and the TV series to come out. And damn it, I wish I was part of that TV show. But next time, whenever there's a second season or a third season.
Sure, you can be a guest star. I would love that.
There you go. Thank you so much again, Krista, for making my day brighter. Thank you again for coming on Back to Basics.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
So guys, today we spoke with Krista today, and we talked about blockchain, we talked about crypto, we talked about identity, digital identity. Now, if you really think about it, what are we all trying to do here? We're trying to eliminate the borders around the world and make that as a one big happy family world. That's what we're trying to do. Have you thought of that? Think of that. I mean, that's my twist. So yes, it is confusing. Yes, is it needed? Yes, yes, and yes, because that's what it is. That's a new world that we're going to be living in. And usual, as always, there is a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and let me give you the quote of the day. The quote of the day is, Bitcoin is rapidly becoming the global reserve cryptocurrency, just like the dollar is to fiat currency. Now, just keep in mind, that's what I'm trying to say, and that's what we are both trying to say in this episode, is everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, you take care, God bless, and I'll see you next week. Make sure you comment all my episodes as much as you can, good, bad, ugly, either way. It'll make my show stronger, my content stronger, definitely my guest A1 plus, and definitely the host who's always the best. So guys, take care, God bless, and I'll see you next week. Next week's episode on Back to Basics.
Or shall I have a holiday and complete social media holiday as well?
Yeah.
So in July, I went to an island in the Atlantic Ocean, and I stopped completely. And you could, it showed But it didn't bother me in the case that I know it would drop, but I still got my results. So I worked it up again slowly, and now it's on level again. But so don't be blind by only that number, and that it should be up there.
Yeah, well, I found a hack that how I can